Number 11. Joseph Mengele. Joseph Mengele was a German officer and physician in Auschwitz concentration camp during World War II. He was notorious for the selection of victims to be killed in the gas chambers and for performing unscientific and often deadly human experiments on prisoners. But he was also personally responsible for the deaths of an unknown number of victims that he killed via lethal injection, shootings, beatings, and through selections and deadly experiments. After the war, he fled to South America, where he evaded capture for the rest of his life. Number 10. Albert Fish. Hamilton Howard Albert Fish was an American serial killer. He was also known as the Gray Man, the Werewolf of Wisteria, the Brooklyn Vampire, the Moon Maniac, and the Boogeyman. A child rapist and cannibal, he boasted that he had children in every state, and at one time stated the number was about 100. However, it is not known whether he was talking about rapes or cannibalization, less still whether he was telling the truth. Number 9. Charles Cullen. Charles Edmund Cullen is a former nurse who was the most prolific serial killer in New Jersey history and is suspected to be the most prolific serial killer in American history. He confessed to authorities that he killed up to 40 patients during the course of his 16-year nursing career. But in subsequent interviews with police, psychiatric professionals, and journalists Charles Greber and Steve Croft, it became clear that he had killed many more, whom he could not specifically remember by name, though he could often remember details of their case. Experts have estimated that Charles Cullen may ultimately be responsible for 400 deaths, which would make him the most prolific serial killer in American history. Number 8. Lenin. Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, alias Lenin, was a Russian communist revolutionary, politician and political theorist. He served as head of government of the Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic from 1917, and of the Soviet Union from 1922 until his death. Under his administration, the Russian Empire was replaced by the Soviet Union. All wealth including land, industry and business was nationalized. Based in Marxism, his political theories are known as Leninism. The number of people who died in the Gulag between 1933 and 1945, while both Stalin were in power, was on the order of 1 million, perhaps a bit more. The total figure for the entire Stalinist period is likely between 2 million and 3 million. The Great Terror and other shooting actions killed no more than 1 million people, probably a bit fewer. The largest human catastrophe of Stalinism was the famine of 1930 to 1933, in which more than 5 million people died. Number 7. Richard Kuklinski. Richard Leonard the Iceman Kuklinski was an American contract killer who was convicted for 5 murders. Kuklinski was given the nickname Iceman for his method of freezing a victim to mask the time of death. By the early to mid-1980s, Kuklinski was involved in narcotics, pornography, arms dealing, money laundering, hijacking and contract killing on a global basis. Kuklinski was a contract killer for Newark's the Cavalcante crime family and New York City's 5 families of the American Mafia. After his murder convictions, Kuklinski took part in a number of interviews during which he claimed to have murdered from over 100 to 250 men between 1948 and 1986. Number 6. Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong was a Chinese communist revolutionary and the founding father of the People's Republic of China, which he governed as chairman of the Communist Party of China from its establishment in 1949 until his death in 1976. Mao was responsible for 40 to 70 million deaths through starvation, prison labor and executions, ranking his tenure as the top incidence of excess mortality in human history. Number 5. Idi Amin. Idi Amin Dada was the 3rd president of Uganda, ruling from 1971 to 1979. Amin joined the British Colonial Regiment, the King's African Rifles in 1946, serving in Kenya and Uganda. Eventually, Amin held the rank of Major General in the post-colonial Ugandan Army and became its commander before seizing power in the military coup of January 1971. Deposing Milton Obote. He later promoted himself to Field Marshal while he was the head of state. Amin's rule was characterized by human rights abuses and killings. The killings, motivated by ethnic, political, and financial factors, continued throughout Amin's 8 years in control. The exact number of people killed is unknown. The International Commission of Jurists estimated the death toll at no fewer than 80,000 and more likely around 300,000, an estimate compiled by exile organizations with the help of Amnesty International puts the number killed at 500,000. Number 4. Pol Pot. He presided over a totalitarian dictatorship, in which his government made urban dwellers move to the countryside to work in collective farms and on forced labor projects. The combined effects of executions, strenuous working conditions, malnutrition and poor medical care caused the deaths of approximately 25% of the Cambodian population. In all, an estimated 1 to 3 million people, out of a population of slightly over 8 million, perished as a result of the policies of his 4-year premiership. Number 3. Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Muhammad bin Awad bin Laden was the founder of Al-Qaeda, the militant organization that claimed responsibility for the September 11 attacks on the United States, along with numerous other mass casualty attacks against civilian and military targets. Number 2. Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler was an Austrian-born German politician who was the leader of the Nazi Party. He was Chancellor of Germany from 1933 to 1945 and Führer of Nazi Germany from 1934 to 1945. As effective dictator of Nazi Germany, Hitler was at the center of World War II in Europe, and the Holocaust. A fairly well-established pair of figures for the Holocaust of the Jews is about 6 million Jews, and about 5 million others. However, these figures do not include a large number of non-Jewish Soviet civilians killed. A round figure for that is about 10 million. If you add civilian deaths due to war-related famine and disease, a further 6 million or so Soviet citizens should be added. But surely deaths from other Nazi atrocities should be added. A case can also be made for treating all WW2 deaths in the European theater of war as attributable to Hitler. Number 1. Stalin. The current status of historical research, which has revised much higher estimates from the Cold War era, is that Stalin more or less deliberately caused the deaths of about 9 million people, 5 million in the collectivization famines of the early 1930s, 1 million people executed and 3 million deaths in labor camps and exile colonies.